Hello and welcome to The Good, The Bad and The Worst, a podcast where we watch movie trilogies and decide which movie will do the fingering. I'm your host, Griner, and joining me today.
I'm Luke Morgan, and big things have small beginnings.
And I'm David, and you are such a disappointment to me.
We have a special returning guest with us tonight, Keenan. He's going to join us for every Alien podcast we ever do. Thanks for joining us, Keenan.
Thank you, guys.
Nice. That's a little.
There we go. Look at that. You're getting attacked.
That's little graphics. That's cool.
That's more production than this podcast has ever had. I don't know if this is okay.
Really has. We've never been able to do anything on the fly.
All right, so we are, of course, doing... I don't know what to call this one. I'm going to call it the Prometheus Trilogy. We might litigate that a little later on whether it's really a true trilogy, but we are talking about Prometheus, Alien Covenant, and the very recently released Alien Romulus. Boys, had you seen these three movies before? Did you guys see Prometheus in cinema, Luke? I'm pretty sure you didn't, right?
No, I had not seen like any of these films. Similar to the original Alien movies, I hadn't seen them really before we were podcasting and get into them. But yeah, I'd always wanted to watch Prometheus. I had the Blu-ray. I watched the trailers and I bought the Blu-ray and I was super intrigued by the movie. Never got around to watching it. So yeah.
Conan?
Yeah, I missed this. Like 2012. I mean, that was my gap year, so I don't know what else I was doing, but
We know what you were doing.
watching something in my room. But yeah, I don't know. I'd never missed this. I think the reception for this, I remember being pretty. I remember the talk around this movie being like, "Is it an Aliens follow-up? Is it a spiritual sequel? What's the deal?" And then I guess reception was a bit lukewarm. And either this came out after I'd already left, and so I just missed it at the movies, or I wasn't interested. I don't know, but that was an oversight on my end.
Keenan, had you seen these movies before, or particularly Alien Covenant and Prometheus?
Not in the cinema, but as soon as I saw the DVD was on sale, got that.
Yeah, physical media.
And I watched it. Yeah. And I think I watched it 3 or 4 times the first week that I got it.
Wow.
Jeez.
Super fan. Yeah, I mean, I would describe myself as a super fan of any Alien movie. I saw Prometheus in the cinema as well as Alien Covenant. I've seen them several times since. Keen to talk about these movies with you guys. Before we dig in, shall we have a look at the stats?
Stats.
All right, so Prometheus, 2012 movie, had a $130 million budget, made a worldwide box office of $403 million. Alien Covenant, 2017 movie, $97 million budget, $240 million box office. And then Alien Romulus, released this year, this very last week, $80 million budget and $108 million worldwide weekend. Is that how you want to say that? Yeah, it's doing all right. I think people are pretty happy with how it's doing. The critical reception, 64, 65, 64. They're all right around there, according to Metacritic anyway. Pretty big drop-off from Alien and Aliens, who are sitting around the mid-80s to 89.
But higher than Alien 3 and
without ranking them totally, do you guys see these movies as very similar in your reception to them?
No, there's definitely one or two there that I would place above another one. I don't want to give any spoilers away, but like I'm surprised that they're so equally like. Yeah, I don't really agree with that.
I think the first, like Prometheus and Covenant, yes, they feel pretty of a piece. Romulus is the obvious outlier because it's not directed by Ridley Scott, it's directed by Fede Alvarez. I mean, yeah, without giving away my thoughts on it, I think that's, I don't know. I feel like that's probably where I put the scores around there as well. Like these are good, not great, but I do feel like they also were not misunderstood, but like Prometheus especially has undergone a big reclamation over the past 5-10 years. Yeah,
it's coming back around online.
And I'm curious to chat about that a little bit in terms of its place in the box office and stuff. But yeah.
Yeah, I do feel like it's come back into vogue a little bit, especially leading up to Romulus. Keenan, are these all similar level movies for you, or
they are. The hardest part for me is the fact that they have really high highs and really low lows throughout the movies.
Yes.
And so it makes it really hard to judge. And to definitively say yes or no makes it's very difficult.
No,
Okay.
I agree with that completely, though.
Get ready for this to just happen over and over again. Conan and Keenan just they're of one mind. They've
Because
both
we're
been
grey hoodies and everything.
they've both been infected by the black goo. All right, Prometheus 2012. Following clues to the origin of mankind, a team finds a structure on a distant moon where they soon realise they are not alone. Yeah, the discourse about this movie when it came out was like, is this an alien movie? And they kind of kept it kind of quiet. Like I think people knew it was kind of in the universe. There was a whole bunch of stuff about the Wayland Corporation. They had Guy Pearce doing a fake TED talk as part of the promotion, which was pretty fun.
That's cool.
Yeah, interesting. My opinion is that it's a worse movie for trying to be part of the Alien universe, and the Alien universe is worse for having this movie in it. But let's we can dig into that a bit more as we go.
You just drop this bombshell.
No, I'm going to get it out there early.
So, question, growing up. Obviously, being a huge Alien fan, or more so Aliens, when you went and saw this, when it was coming,
I like Alien too. Yep.
Yeah. Okay. Did you, in your mind, were you like, this is going to be an Alien movie?
Yes,
like,
100%.
Was it
I think.
certain? Okay.
Yeah, I think everyone was pretty certain by the time it came out. It was in the in the production stages where like Ridley Scott sci-fi is this Alien.
Yeah.
It's not called Alien, it's called Prometheus. What the hell is this? But a lot of the once they started throwing in Wayland Corporation and stuff, it was pretty obvious.
Yeah.
And when you first watched it, what were your thoughts? Were you like, did you come out and be like, Aliens back, baby? Or
Yeah, no, I didn't like super love this movie when I first saw it, but this is a movie every time I watch it I think about quite a bit for the days after. It sticks with me and I have questions about it that I don't think ever have been answered. And I think it actually like really swings for the fences in trying to go for a pretty huge concept. Like, what happens when you meet your creators and they don't want you? You're like kind of the back end science experiment that they forgot about and they're coming to dispose of. And
just
then
like
throw in the synthetic humans as well. The humans creation, and it's a really interesting dichotomy they set up here, I think.
It's just like when I met my dad in real life. It was confronting, but it really I grew from that.
it was very similar to when the engineer met David, I think, and kind of just like, nah, pull his head off, throw him away. Very similar scenes. I think this movie rocks. Like, I really, really enjoyed this movie, and I don't know why. Like, this thing, I feel like you cannot say that the Alien universe is worse to have Prometheus in it when we've had Alien Resurrection. Like, I feel like
let's start shitting on Alien Resurrection again.
The
okay?
has been cast. Like, the pet has been killed long, long ago. This does something interesting where it's exploring a lot more of the world of Alien in a way that I found really fascinating. And that's the thing. Like I said, I bought the Blu-ray when this first came out. Never got around to watching it, but there was something about this movie and the trailers that really appealed to me. I don't know if it was just handsome Squidward, this big, tall, white dude, ripped, that looked super unique. Where I was like, "What is this movie? It looks really cool." But from the opening scene, like, I'm just like, "What is going on?" And then I'm like, "This is crazy! Like, this is, how humans came to be. Basically, is this engineer making this sacrifice?" And the more I keep thinking about this movie, and the more I come away from it and read stuff on it and hear other things, I find this movie really fascinating and a joy to watch. Like, the whole thing, I'm sure you guys know, but there was this whole plot that was written in the script and they cut about Jesus Christ.
The Jesus plot, yeah.
What's your
wild.
thoughts on this? Because I'm interested if they had done that, or even not doing that, but I feel like they still imply that probably is the reason that they're coming to kill us all. Is they're like, you ruined it, you burned it up, damn you, and they're coming back to kill us. What's your guys' thoughts on that?
I think it's fine. I think it's cool. Like, are you asking this like from a religious point of view, or just how?
Yeah, I know you are the two religious people I know, so I'm interested in your opinion.
I don't think there's
is that blasphemy to have that in there, or
no? I don't think so at all. I think anyone who gets uppity in arms about that's a bit like you're watching a movie about aliens, for shit's sake. Like if you're going to get uppity in arms, then be like, oh, you can't touch this. It's like, well, you're hit at the wrong place. I think it's
some doctrine about idolatry we could get into, but we don't need to go there. Like,
Yeah,
it's just a movie, and I don't know. There are other religions that would care. Christianity is not one of them, I don't think.
Most Christians, I don't think wouldn't, nor should they give any sort of shit about it. I think, look, you're right. You tapped into something interesting there, where all the ideas around this movie are really cool and things like this. But that came from an interview that Ridley Scott did, where he's like, "Yeah, in this world, Jesus Christ is an engineer." And it's like, that's a cool idea. It's not in the movie, though. And it's like, and the problem, I don't know, I think we all might, or a few of us might agree with this. Like, Keenan, like you said, and Grant, like you said, at least this movie has really big ideas. It has really high highs where there's clearly hinting at stuff and there is like exploration of themes. There are ideas, but a lot of it is either not really unearthed properly or a lot of it is hamstrung by terrible writing and like really bad characters. And it's a weird issue where it's like that idea is cool. And I was reading as well. I was like, yeah, Jesus Christ being an engineer and this is why humanity's gone this way. That's fascinating. But that's not in the text. And I'm like, you can't, I don't know. That kind of irked me. But then I had the same thought about our last podcast where we talked about Alien 3 and we're like, we both, Keenan and I admired that movie more for what we know could have been and was around it. So I don't want to sound hypocritical and be like, this movie's, that doesn't count because yeah.
Keenan, any thoughts?
I'm glad that they didn't go ahead with the Jesus subplot thing.
I think it's too on the nose.
It's way too on the nose. There's already so many allusions to sacrifice and how many times did people stand there with their arms spread open? I think there was like 4 or 5 that I counted that were overtly just center frame, the engineer, the opening shot at the engineer, which is amazing. I love that shot. One of the best opening scenes of cinema, I think. The dude gets stigmata, like, like
it's pretty there, isn't it?
It's there, you don't really need an overt plot point, someone to point it out and go, see.
But what about if there was a flashback with someone they find a scroll of like, that's Jesus Christ with a mad chin.
And he's Squidward but with a beard and long hair. Like, that's amazing. Come on.
That's why he had a beard, he had to hide his chin.
Exactly. Jesus was ripped.
Yeah. Conan, I don't know if I know what you mean. And one of my big problems with this movie is that it really does ask more questions than it answers. In particular with the wider alien universe, but even with its core concept of like meeting your creator, you're right, it doesn't like really try to resolve anything, but I don't know, I feel like it really goes for it in places, I think, whereas a lot of movies tend to, I don't know, I feel like we've been through a lot of movies recently where they just shy away from their main conceit, like they open up the door to these nice ideas and then do nothing with it. At least this tries to go for it, even if it doesn't have a lot to say in the end, I guess.
No, I completely agree with you. I think I'm really kind of bummed out that we don't have Ridley Scott's third Alien movie in this, because I think he clearly has an idea of where this is going, and it was originally meant to be a trilogy. It was in production. Keenan disagrees. All right, we'll get there. But I totally agree. I think it's like, even though there's big parts of this movie that don't work, it's like I'm still kind of in awe of it, and I still admire it so much because I'm like, holy crap, they're taking swings. I'm like, and it is asking questions. And like, this is what I always complain about, especially with franchise movies nowadays, where I'm like, and I might complain about another movie in this franchise later, where I'm like, it doesn't have anything to say. But this movie has a lot to say. Yeah. I just think it's kind of a hot mess where it's almost too big for itself. And no, I think, like, I agree with you, Grant. It does I don't know if it's disservice to the universe, but like, I think what I want Prometheus to not be an alien movie. I want this to just be a standalone sci-fi.
100% agree with you.
Yes. Yep.
Yeah, but it comes at this interesting time, like 2012, where there's this kind of, I feel like there's a case study to be done between this and you had Avengers Age of Ultron as well. And this is kind of where, like big box office Hollywood stuff kind of reaches I don't even know the ground zero was. It reaches singularity. This
Zenith.
moment, yeah, it's some sort of weird peak where it's like on one hand you've got one of the worst pieces of manufactured Marvel IP there, but then you've also got Avengers 2 sucks. Don't ever say it doesn't.
Luke with the defense.
But then you've also got like this, where I think this is like meant to be a big budget sci-fi, and I wonder if part of Ridley Scott's process was like, I need to connect it to AI, connect it to like some broader universe, because it's like this. I don't know. This should be a huge movie. This should be massive, but it's kind of, I don't know. Now it feels necessary to have it linked to IP. But yeah, the movie gets caught in all these problems of being like, well, we need to explain certain things to do this broader universe. And it's one of those universes that I don't think you need to explain. Like,
I never needed to know why that big-ass pilot dude was in that ship.
But a lot of people did want to know.
No. The best thing about that is it's just so mysterious, and you never ever find out anything about it. And he's just in a ship that has lots of penises on it, and it's great. Like,
that thing, for all its flaws or anything like that, and that can probably come down to Damon Lindelof being involved, who is famous for asking a lot of questions and not answering them. Like, that seems to be his specialty.
We'll come back to this.
But that thing, it stands on its own, and I feel like it's got its place in cinema. I feel like everyone remembers Prometheus, whether they've seen it or not. Like, the imagery, it's the name, people know that movie. Well, I feel like if Alien Covenant on its own, like, a lot of people forget that movie existed, but I feel like Prometheus will always be a part of conversation for people. And it has done this go around again. We're online recently. I keep seeing it be brought up where people are like, why did we all hate on this? Like, this was pretty good. And I understand we've all watched it and like it has flaws. I really enjoyed the film. 100% it's got flaws. Like my flaws with it were more like, okay, why is this like jackass there? Like, this dude, what's his name? Lindhaff or something like that. The guy that's the geologist or something. That's just super aggressive and just like
Sean Harris.
Sean Harris. Fifield.
Yeah.
I'm just like, why are these people on this like expedition where they've spent trillions of dollars? Why is this asshole who's like going against orders, like the first thing he says, like, I'm just here. I'm like a typical tradie that's on this job all of a sudden. I'm like, why is this person involved in this like important mission about finding like, our creators or whatever, other than to add conflict? And then him and his friend are just idiots that see this worm creature and just like, hey, buddy, and start waving in its face when they're experts in fauna and all this sort of stuff. It just doesn't make any sense to me. But I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, do we start dissecting this now and be like all the gaping problems with this movie, or do we? I don't know, because that's that's the conversation to have here, right? Like, what about this movie especially is really bad that I think made everybody hate it, rightly so. But then also, what about this movie that makes it sort of almost feel relevant, or at least feel like you say, kind of like a standout movie of the past 10 years, where everyone's like, yeah, that was actually a really, really big one.
Where does it fall apart for you? Like, because I know the first hour of this movie, I was like, I feel like just captured by it. I was like, this is so cool. This is so fascinating. This is so interesting. Even them walking, it felt like a video game to me, where they're walking around and they're watching the hologram of this thing happen, like Dark Souls-esque, watching these people die in the past, and it's like, okay, what's happened here? What were they running from? All this, I find that really cool. The acting, it's got a great cast. Fassbender's David is one of the best characters ever. I really, really like his performance in this movie, especially. I don't know. I was along for the ride, and I feel like even Shaw's whole procedure to get that alien out of her is one of the coolest scenes ever and the most tense alien scenes ever.
Oh, yeah.
And it's so awesome. It's completely undone in the second movie because Shaw was a badass in that moment. But hey, it is what it is.
Why would you have such an expensive machine and have it only be able to treat men? That's the patriarchy. still around in
Patriarchy.
2094.
Did you not watch
It's a
Barbie?
real problem.
Tear it down, fellas.
Keenan, where does it fall apart for you? What's your gaping issue with this movie?
Yeah, because you said there were highs and lows. What do you?
Okay, so right off the bat, this film, you're definitely right. It asks a lot of questions that it doesn't answer. It's a film for me that is a lot more fun to discuss than it is to actually watch. And there's a handful of films like that out there. I don't know if you guys remember In Time with Justin Timberlake.
Yes,
that's a fun movie to talk about, but it's not that great to watch. And apart from a few key scenes, I feel like a lot of Prometheus is average to why is this in here? And I feel like a lot of the why is this in here is because it's an alien film. We need to put something in there.
Yep.
And it really messes with a lot of the pacing for me. Like I like the film, but there's points I get to and I'm like, oh my God, do we need this? I'm kind of still digesting the scene prior and then you get over that alien bit, apart from Shaw's procedure, which felt very much part of the Prometheus story, for lack of a better term. And the rest of it was kind of like after Wayland meets the engineer, that whole end from that point out, that climax, I was like, why? The climax of this should be Wayland meeting his creator and facing that disappointment. And instead the dude just rips off a head. And then, and it changes gears constantly. And that's the biggest issue that I have with it. If you could dissect it and pull the bits apart, it could, there's a salvageable good film there. But yeah, it's unfortunately because of those other ones, it really just peaks and valleys for me.
Yeah. So
the thing for me that really frustrates me with this movie is one of the things is the black goo. Like I feel like it's okay as the bad guy, I guess, or as the catalyst in a Prometheus movie, but as something that exists in the Alien universe, I don't know, it undoes Alien, like the concept of aliens for me. Like, I don't know, I feel like they should be just this unknown being from a distant star that we know nothing about. They're the perfect organism and they're just here to destroy. Like, I don't need them to be created. I don't need them to be controlled. Like, I'm happy for people to try and control them. I love when corporations want to get involved with them. Give me more of that. But I don't need somebody synthesizing them from a black goo. I don't need a black goo that can just solve whatever problem you have. I need a monster here. The black goo infected some worms and now they look like penises and now you're in trouble. Or the black goo got in. No, that was the same. And it folded up a man. Remember, it folded. That's so weird.
Oh yeah, Sean Harris goes crab person.
Goes crab person, then unfolds.
You're right. Like this movie it's kind of like the antithesis to Alien, and it's what's so interesting that Ridley Scott wanted to make this movie, because Alien is like a lean, mean mystery horror, right? It's like there is just an alien on here. We don't know why it's on this planet with giant penises. We don't know why it looks like a vagina. Like there's a lot of really cool sexual subtext to Alien, but it's like the mystery's there. It never wastes time trying to be like, what are they? Why they're doing it? It's just like, here is something unknown. We need to survive it because there's horror in the unknown. This is like completely the opposite though. This is big. It's pretty bloated. It's very explanatory. It's mostly like, there's not a whole lot of horror in it. There's bits of it, but it's like a lot more of just like a sci-fi kind of epic. And so it's so weird to me watching it. I'm like, why would the guy who made this one movie then want to make the complete opposite of it? And I all I can think of is that Ridley Scott is a madman and has been, directs like 2 movies a year, and he just can't stop himself. And he's been living with this legacy for 40, 50 years. But it's Yeah.
I don't know, I got the feeling for some reason that he saw what James Cameron was doing with Avatar and he's like, I want some of that. This is not, because this was not going to be a trilogy. This was going to be 9 movies or something. Like,
Was it really?
Yes, he was talking about a lot of films. 100% he was talking about a lot of films. Like, the third movie was supposed to be about the creation of the androids. It wasn't even going to touch on the alien stuff, really. Like, it was going back. But I think he just got bored. Like, I think he just moved on. I don't know. Do you ever wonder if the creator of things like this is not as like clever as you think he is, right? Like, there's absolute genius in the creation of Alien. I don't know. He has a lot of good movies. He has a lot of shit movies too. Like, does he know what he had? I don't know. Does he know how to recreate that?
Well, no. Like, Ridley Scott is like the OG of this, of making hits and misses. Like, he's like the ultimate sort of filmmaker for hire in a way, even though he's like he does it himself, but it's like he's just a professional. He just works. He doesn't even have time to he's not like, I need to tell a story. He's not a writer. He's just like, he's a filmmaker. He just wants to tell stories in a visual medium, which is again part of the reason why I don't even know how this movie came about exactly, if it was a different story and then he made it an Alien one because of that. All good questions, but I definitely do think that I don't even know if he's necessarily run out of ideas. Or gotten bored. I just think it's like, I think it's too big. I think he wants to literally answer the question of like, what are we in the universe? And you can't do that in this franchise. But sorry, I want to say one more thing, and then I'll open the floor up again. The place this movie really falls apart for me is just the scripting. Like, the script is it's the fuck of a mess, which is weird because Damon Lindelof is a good writer. He is a great writer. He is very good at characters, and this is his one thing that he's good at. Lost worked because it was like the character drama. It wasn't the mystery; it was the characters. Watchmen works because of that. Pretty sure he did The Leftovers. It's embarrassing if he didn't. But he 100% did. He did. Yeah. So he's great at doing human drama. This movie is completely void of any good human characters and human drama. It's the strangest thing to me that all the characters are introduced. There's like 30 of them. Like you said, Luke, where they're all just kind of antagonistic to each other. They're like, I hate you and I hate you and I don't want to be here. And we hate the science person who's the only reason we're all on this job anyway.
Yeah.
And like, there's just nothing. There's no arcs. There's no character development. There's a brief moment where Logan Marshall Green's like, I'm sad because the engineers are dead.
Yeah.
And that's it. And then it's just like, yeah, cool. Now what? Like, that's it. It's the weirdest thing to me that all the characters are very dumb. They're very poorly developed. They do some of the stupidest things you could ever do. Like,
David's great.
The only exception is David. and he works because he's so artificial.
Yeah.
But like, the whole time watching this, I'm like, God damn, why couldn't they get like what happened in the script writing room? Because something went wrong. I don't know if they like dropped it in a shredder and then restuck it together in wrong sections or what, but it was.
Yeah.
It's just sad to me because I'm like, this is the kind of movie where you need good characters to be like, to grapple with the concept. And this could have been best sci-fi movie of the 21st century. That's my piece.
My 2 issues with this film, 2 parts. Vickers doesn't know how to run sideways, so she just keeps running straight and gets crushed by the ship. She just learned to run sideways.
Classic mistake.
And I don't understand. I get there was the TED Talk thing and stuff. It just feels weird to cast a young person to play a really old person.
I was going to say, why is Guy Pearce here? And then he never gets de-aged. As soon as I saw him, I was like, oh, okay, he's going to find his creator and find like a fountain of youth that makes him young, and then we'll see, it's Guy Pearce underneath all that prosthetic. But that obviously never happens. So it just feels weird. Just cast an old person, which originally they were going to cast, what's his name? Von Sydow or Von...
Oh, Max von Sydow.
Yes, he was originally meant to play Wayland before they decided they really needed that TED Talk. So they cast Guy Pearce, but I feel it stands out where it's like, this is a little silly. This guy who's obviously not old, pretending to be old, but yeah, I don't know.
Yeah,
nobody's going to defend that casting. I was hoping someone was a big fan of Guy Pearce and old guy makeup. I like Guy Pearce too. I just don't know why he's here.
If you want me to, I will defend it. No, I think if he was so underutilized, that's a no-brainer.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
why go through all that effort with Guy Pearce, who I really like as an actor, just to have the very end scene essentially, and he doesn't get. I get that part of his conflict is the fact that he doesn't actually get the answers.
Yeah.
After all that,
Yep.
but that's kind of I feel like the entire movie, whether this was consciously done or not, it's the movie has this question of, if you could ask your creator, why did you make us, would they be able to give you an answer that was satisfying at all?
Yep.
And I feel like that could also apply to Ridley Scott as far as the prequel stuff, and going, well, are you satisfied? Can I give you an answer that would be okay? And that metatextually, people who hate this film are falling straight into that trap, and you're all idiots.
Yeah, exactly.
That's a really interesting point. Like, because there's a scene in Alien Covenant that it doesn't really matter. Like, there's a scene in Alien Covenant where two characters slip on blood spills.
Yeah.
And it is one of the funniest things I've seen in a movie that I don't think is trying to be funny.
Yeah.
But I was like, this has to be a joke. Ridley Scott knows full well that this is hilarious. There's no way that he's filming this being like, God, everyone's got to be scared when they see this. Like, So do you think that there is a big, do you think that, like, Ridley Scott is kind of, like, doing a long joke here, like a long con or a long troll?
No, I think that he 100% believes that he's great at this, and that these movies are succeeding because of him, and no one sees his vision, only because he goes back to mess around with his film so much. I feel like he's just the type of person that's just like, people don't understand. Like Blade Runner, how everyone's like, Deckard's a human, 100%. Like, that's it. And he's like, no, you don't understand. And everyone's like, no, look at all the evidence here. And he's like, yeah, but I'm saying it.
People understand his films better than he does, and he's like, well, now I'm gonna have to redo this. But that's the thing, like, it's kind of crazy to think, like, Blade Runner, Alien, and Gladiator. These three films are like incredible, like, monuments in cinema. He shouldn't do sequels. I don't feel like
no one did more for sci-fi in cinema than him. Blade Runner and Alien, like, he made what we think of now when we visualize, like, the science fiction dystopian future. Like, and this is why I'm like, because the James Cameron comparison is pretty apt, because James Cameron has very recently come under fire for being this exact problem, this megalomaniac tinkerer obsessed with fingering his own products, who can't seem to stop. And like, he did the 4K proper release of Aliens, and apparently it looks like shit. And he said, anyone who's, like, his quote was, people who think my cut of Aliens looks bad need to get out of their parents' basements. Ooh. So he's clearly this old boomer who just thinks that he's the only one who has any sort of idea of how the world works. And it's like, no, you're actually a bit of a knob here. And he's the one who keeps being like, let's retouch up True Lies and make it look worse, because he can't stop obsessing.
And I think 8 Avatar films. Like, get over it. They're not that good.
Exactly right. And
they keep making money, though. There's no denying that.
That's true. But I don't know. Ridley Scott strikes me. He just doesn't strike me as the same. He strikes me as more of a guy who just gets his head down. It's like, I need to explore the House of Gucci now. I need to know what's going on in there.
I've got a better comparison for you. He is like George Lucas. He's got the ideas. He can't really pull anything together, and it's only a fluke that the people around him are so much better.
No,
because listen. Ridley Scott has some real stinkers out there, and he's got some really high films as well.
Amazing film. Nobody watched it.
But that's because he's got like 100 movies. George Lucas has like 6.
Yeah,
and either one of them is good. Arguably.
But I mean, like, he did prequels, and they undone the world of the films that he created initially, and he goes back and messes with things. I'm Listen up, guys. I'm right here.
Okay, Ridley. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Should we move on? Because we still get to talk about Ridley Scott in the next movie too. Does anybody want to add anything to Prometheus?
Last thing, I was really intrigued at the end of this film. I was like, okay, cool. I can't wait to see Shaw and David move on. What's going to happen? I was like, I really hope it continues. And then when I saw that they were cast in the next one, I was like, oh, this is awesome. I was really excited for it. So, yeah.
Imagine I was disappointed in 2017 when Alien Covenant came out. The crew of a colony ship bound for a remote planet discover an uncharted paradise that, with a threat beyond their imagination, and must attempt a harrowing escape. I'm so glad they didn't just do Shaw and David blowing up the Squidward guys, the engineers. Squidward guys. the name left my brain for a moment there.
Engineers.
Squidward.
Engineers
Oh.
it's a big word.
It is.
So I don't remember.
Is that sarcasm or?
No, 100%. I did not need that
Sincerity.
movie. I did not need that movie. I don't know about you
Okay.
guys.
But do you need Covenant? Did you like Covenant more than Prometheus?
No, but I like Covenant. Don't get me wrong.
Okay.
But I like all of these movies. I don't know what to tell you.
Okay. So Covenant. I enjoyed this film. I found it more unsettling than all the other Alien films. I feel like, especially towards the end, a lot of the stuff that David has done or is doing, I find really unsettling. Especially Shaw, like that's really messed up. When you see that she's just become this thing, like this test thing that he's experimented on. It made me feel like queasy. I was like, oh man, this feels wrong. Like this feels really weird. It does a lot of interesting things. Obviously, there's him interacting with the, what do you call it? I'm not a big alien enough. There's all the different morphs. What's the one that's got human skin?
Oh god,
Like
the
interested.
protomorph or whatever it's called.
Protomorphs or something. Yeah. It's interesting with him interacting with that. The tiny little xenomorph that like stands up and is like praising him just made me laugh. Because it's like just this tiny, tiny little version of it, a full-scale xenomorph. There's a lot in this film that's very unique and weird.
What I mean, Ridley Scott's got a sense of humor. Like he knows that some of this shit is really absurd.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Part of me wonders if he's not taking himself too seriously because he's like, "Come to me for answers, my children, and you'll just be disappointed."
I wonder.
This movie to me has much the same. It has the same problems, has the same achievements as Prometheus. Like it changes genre. This is more of a traditional horror movie.
Yes.
Even though it's like, it's not an enclosed claustrophobic one. A lot of it's outside, but it's pretty standard horror. But it's got all the same issues. It is like the characters are better drawn in this. I
was going to say, if you tell me the characters are just as bad as Prometheus, I will fight you because these guys are. This crew is so much more likable and watchable than the Prometheus crew, in my opinion.
No, you're right. Yeah, I won't go. I wouldn't even say that just as a joke. Like the characters here are at least characters. Still doesn't do enough with their dynamics. Like it hints at it, and a lot of it's exposition and it's kind of like, but their choices are all really bad. Like.
Everybody makes the worst decisions in these movies. Like
the
absolute worst decisions.
Billy Crudup just walking up and being like, David, you're obviously evil. What have you done in this giant, weird human, like this skinny, fleshy pod? And Danny McBride being like, our duty is like, we didn't come to Earth to not take risks.
Yeah.
He's like, my duty is to go get my wife, not the 2,000 columns. Like, fuck off. No, your duty is to not do this, you idiot.
Did you guys like this crew like much more just because you're huge James Franco fans?
I wanted to bring that up because Conan once made the statement, and it stuck with me, that James Franco has two modes. There's normal James Franco and sleepy James Franco. And I had this great joke that this is the sleepiest James Franco performance. But then, of course, we get the flashback, and it kind of ruins the joke. But
did you pause it in the first 2 minutes? Like, yes, this is gold.
Literally, it's in my notes if you want to see it in the first 2 minutes. Sleepiest James Franco performance, and because I forgot that he comes back. But
that's funny.
How funny. That was pretty great. I will admit.
It was a pretty baller choice, just being like, show James Franco just to have him burn alive. It's like, right on.
They need to stop sending like husbands and wives on these trips together because it's like they're gonna throw the mission into jeopardy to save each other all the time. Like it's not very smart. You need to find real loners just to go out there on their own.
Yeah, we want the colony to be full of neckbeards, is what we want. Neckbeards and
exactly,
weebs.
exactly.
Why aren't there just androids?
Yeah.
Like, we got androids, just have the androids set
Yeah.
everything up, and then, you know, they've got the embryos.
Especially
just
from Wayland.
roll
You think
'em after
Wayland would be
Yeah.
like, look, we're
Like-
going to have androids do this because they're going to do what we want them to do, basically. So,
That's a good point, actually. Yeah, why don't they do that?
I don't know. In the Alien universe, there must be like some level of mistrust of androids or something, because like we get it in every movie is full of it, like for a start, but we never get a crew of androids.
Yeah, so even like from the higher ups, they're like, we can't put too many together because they'll go AI on us. And
Yeah.
I mean, come on, you had two of them together and Fassbender started making out with himself.
he
So,
started getting it on.
I mean, would you watch a whole crew of Fassbenders? I probably would. I'd be down for like all different personalities as well, with different accents.
Different accents. That'd be hot.
They don't even do anything. It's just the trip. The entire trip in real time.
No aliens ever happen either, because they're just like, it's the androids. We're not going to worry about them. And it's just a buddy cop.
What do you guys make of, like, what do you guys think of this whole sexual subtext in there? Because it's really on display in this one, right? It's the fingering joke is like is undeniable. We see a lot more of like the eggs and the, I don't know, like this weird like psychosexual obsession that David has with Walter, and like the same sort of relationship that Walter kind of has with the other Ripley surrogate now. Daniels, where he's like, he's loyal to her and he feels something. He says it's a duty, but it's clearly more. I don't know. Like, what do you guys make of that? I guess it's a big question, but does it work for you to have like all this stuff in here?
It definitely works for me. I like the fact that there's so much subtext about birthing and creating and all that sort of stuff, and to have an identical copy of himself that he's trying to almost recreate in his image, because through the whole thing he's trying to get him over his side and win him over and stuff like that. So it's just another layer of that creation. He wants to control and make another being like himself.
Yeah.
It really works for me. I really enjoy everything with this. This is my thing with this film. Everything with the Michael Fassbender, brilliant, 100%, over 100%. I love it. Everything else is so nosedive for me.
Fair enough. Yeah. I agree for the most part. Like, I don't know. I think there's some decent horror here. Like, I think the alien. Like I feel like we get a real alien here, I guess, is my feeling, and we get some pretty decent, like, straight out of horror movie kills where they're in the shower. That one's pretty good, brief one, but it's like totally straight out of the horror textbook.
Yeah, good throwback. Yep.
And even like when they're facing off against the little ones at night, and David just comes up and shoots the flare up in the air, like that whole scene feels really tense and is really good. But you're right. There's so many scenes where like they're slipping on blood or they're not following their protocols.
He shoots all the propane tanks and blows the shit up.
Goodness me. Just worst decision.
The alien coming out of the dude's spine was pretty gnarly. I will admit, like that's really gruesome. But yeah, and then as they were all slipping over the blood, my wife was just like, "These people are idiots.
Yes.
Like, why are they slipping around like Three Stooges?
Totally
like,
incompetent." Yeah,
that scene's so weird as well, because like she runs out and locks them in, and then she's like, "Oh shit, I got to go back in there." Goes in, slips on the blood's like, "Nope, got to lock him in again." Goes back out, locks him in. It's just like, what are you doing? And
then he jumps through the door anyway. He jumps through the glass of the door anyway.
The glass doesn't do anything.
I love that little guy. I have in my notes at this point, he's just a little guy, and that's it. He's just a little guy, and that scene starts out so great, and it has this great trajectory for like, wow, this is horrifying, and then it bursts out the back, and I'm like, okay, yes, I'm sold, I'm into this, and then there's this little guy, and I lose it. I'm gone from that scene. Then I'm like, it's the little guy.
It's the dilemma between the whole thing. Is like there's a lot of cool bits there. Like it's shot really well. It's set up to be like this is a really terrifying scene where he's like convulsing. It's got to burst out. But everything before and after kind of undoes it, because beforehand you're like, what? Here's an idea. Don't walk around on a planet that you've never been on with your helmets off, dickheads. Doesn't matter if the climate, if the air is okay. Who knows what kind of pathogens are there? Who knows what else is going on? It's just like, it's the stupidest sort of behavior. So when they tread on spores, it's just like, I'm glad they're dying. Fantastic. You guys have brought this on yourself by being so stupid.
They did the same in Prometheus, and obviously there was a bit of protest about it. But this one, they're just like straight up like, no, let's just go out and breathe. This will be fine. Like whatever.
Yeah.
So just spores is an interesting way of delivering the black goo.
See, I don't know how I feel about that either, because it does just feel like the black goo. It's like we need a way to infect them, but I don't want to put a face hugger in there yet. Let's put some spores in their ear. Like, I don't know.
Yeah, I got notes on the black goo, but it's more for the next film, so we'll keep a hold of that one.
Yep. But I agree with that. Like the spores kind of being the spores piss me off when they try to this is what it just gets in your ear and possesses you. I'm like, because that's more kind of terrifying and deadly than an alien is.
Yeah.
Like a xenomorph has to hunt you and you have to work for it. This is literally just he kill you at any moment. So why is there any idea of this perfect creation when you can just put spores everywhere?
Yeah, like the theory is that David's creating all these, or having some hand in the creation of these plants and the spores and he's trying to perfect it, but like, no, the spores, dude, that was pretty good. Like, what are you doing?
You got it right the first time.
You don't need a 7-foot xenomorph. You kind of did pretty good.
Yeah, I agree. Like the spores, they really piss me off. It's just there's no need for any of the difficulties of creating. I guess that's the whole idea of he's trying to create something though, and spores aren't really a creation. But again, it's a problem with these movies. It's like you trying to fit in these interesting ideas of creation, life, death, all this stuff. Trying to fit that in with the alien lore.
Yes. Yep.
It's just kind of a fool's errand. Like,
yeah, I agree.
Yeah. Because again, the first movie works so well because it's just, there's an alien. It's like, yep, I know that's bad. Whereas this is like, but trust me, the alien came from a place, and that place is Spore City.
What did you guys think of? There's a couple of scenes. There's where they're lifting up in the loader and the alien's crawling around on the outside, and Daniels just becomes a badass and goes out and deals with it. And then there's also an alien that comes up to the ship. It just felt like kind of a double up to me. Like, give me one of those, maybe. Don't know if we need both. I don't know. Did you guys like that? Like, her taking on the aliens in a very alien-esque way?
Yeah, well, she's almost hunting them in a way. Yeah, I don't know. Like, I don't know what it is about this movie. I didn't enjoy this as much as Prometheus, but 100% I get it. The same thing of like, there's a lot more horror in it. I feel more unsettled, which is probably the point of an alien film as well, to feel unsettled. But I don't know. I feel like the stuff I was so fascinated about this, I feel like is the most tie-in stuff to Prometheus, where I was like, okay, like David dropping that stuff in off the ship onto this planet. And I'm like, why do they all not look like handsome Squidward? Like, why do they look very human-like? Like, they're pretty basic. Are the handsome Squidwards just like the influences of that world? They're all like ripped and stuff. So they sent them off because,
best of the best.
They're the Mr. Beast and stuff. They're the famous ones. But I don't know. But I found that stuff really fascinating when it goes back to them flashbacks. And I feel like I wanted more of that. I wanted more connective tissue from Prometheus to that. And I wanted to explore more stuff with Shaw and David on that ship. They filmed a bunch of stuff for it. There's scenes of like her putting him back together and all that stuff after finally trusting him after being on the ship for like a month together and interacting. There's all these scenes that I don't know if they were deleted scenes or if they released them as a prologue, because I know they'd released like a prologue to this showing James Franco with the crew and everything like that. Like I think it was like a 12-minute short film or something like that came out before the movie did. But yeah, it's just I feel like that's the stuff that was fascinating me most. But I don't know if that was just me liking Prometheus more than everyone else. I think
maybe.
Yeah, the horror stuff is, or the alien's good. Like the xenomorph is creepy. I know Ridley Scott said in an interview when it like about making Alien, he was like the key to doing it is to never show the creature too much. He's like it's the Jaws thing. It's like you don't want to show the audience, give them too much because then they get used to it, loses its fear. And then it's interesting because he contradicts himself in this, and he's just like, there's a shit ton of xenomorph, and there are scenes where it's on the ship and it's like trying to get in, and it's cool. But I was reminded whenever those, that's when it kind of becomes a weird action movie almost.
Yeah.
I guess maybe it's trying to riff on Aliens a little bit. I don't know, but the parts that work better are like in that sort of weird stone city they're in, where like the scene where you see the protomorph sort of standing there. It's just really creepy, and you're like, it's kind of dark, but you know, there's tension, but there's no action happening. It's just kind of unsettling, and I think that's much better.
That's that thing that with the protomorph and everything. That is scarier than watching the alien walk through the ships and get locked out of doors because David's like, "No, you can't go that way," and then he's like, "Ah, damn, I'll go this way then." Like that kind of takes. Yeah, he's like, "Ah, dang it."
Oh, you know, did.
Like that kind of takes the scariness away from him.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was quite obvious that it was going to be David, right? That won that fight and got onto the ship. Like the whole time I was like, okay, when's it going to reveal itself? And I'm like, why is he helping him? Why is he trying to actually, help them in the fight against the xenomorph or whatever to then reveal?
He still wants to protect his colony, right? I like. I mean, it's obvious, right? But I still enjoy her realization at the end, just as she's about to go under. I think that's pretty effective.
Yeah.
And there's nothing he even really does. She just I don't know. She just kind of realizes, right? Like
he doesn't know what she's talking about, and he's just like,
yeah, I guess so.
Yeah.
It's subtle, but her reaction going to sleep, and then he's just like, "Don't let the bed bugs bite." It's great. It's awesome.
Yeah.
And then he spits up xenomorph bloody face.
Yeah, that's right.
He's birthing them.
He gives birth. Yeah, he finally gets what he wants. Good on you, David.
But this is the thing. When this movie finished, I became so bummed when I realized that Romulus wasn't continuing on this trilogy and that Ridley Scott wasn't going to finish this trilogy. I was kind of really keen to see how that would go with David off to create this new colony or whatever. I was kind of excited to see that until I watched the next one. And I was like, okay, I'm all right with it. But we'll get into that.
Should we move on?
Yes.
Sure.
Alien Romulus 2024 movie. While scavenging the deep ends of a derelict space station, a group of young space colonists come face to face with the most terrifying life form in the universe.
What is it?
I don't know. You have to watch the movie to find out. We won't spoil it here.
Alien.
Man, well, I mean, obviously not like a continuation of Ridley Scott's vision, I suppose. So, Luke, you're a bit disappointed this movie doesn't continue on?
So the story is apparently the director pitched this script to Ridley Scott, and he was like, okay, cool. And so that's why he's executive producer. He was like, I like the sound of that movie. That'll be good. I remember after watching the second one, I just had this thing. I was like, oh man, I'm really intrigued now to watch the next one. I feel like for the first time I was excited to watch an Alien movie. I was like, oh, this will be cool. I'm excited for this. And then looking, I think I Googled it, and just not seeing Fassbender in the cast. I was like, no! It's like, what's happening? This isn't a trilogy. What's going on? And so I kind of went in pretty disappointed about it. But I loved this film. And I feel like it's going to be a hot take that I really, really like this film. I had a blast with this movie. I wanted to watch it again the next day. I made my wife go watch it the next day because obviously I took Griner on a date instead of my wife. And I was the next day. I was like,
we all wish we could.
I was like, you have to go watch it now. And just, I can't. I really want to see it again. I really want to see it a second time because I really enjoyed Alien Romulus. So I'm halfway through the movie. I remember having the thought, I'm glad they ditched. I'm glad they ditched that other stuff. I'm happy with this now. I want a trilogy of this.
You're fickle as shit. He's just like, I love Ridley. I want the answers to his thing. He's like, Ridley
bye
who?
Bye, Ridley.
Friendship with Ridley over. Fede Alvarez, new best friend.
It's my best friend now.
Keenan, how did you feel? Are you disappointed this wasn't a continuation of Ridley Scott's vision?
No. I thought that Covenant had such a great ending with that realization. I just went, perfect, great. I don't need to know anymore. I don't want to know anymore. Whatever you're going to do, you're going to fuck it up. I don't want to.
100% agree.
Like, the implication is enough.
Yep.
So going over to this one, I didn't actually look. I went in completely blind. I knew the director only because I read something about he's the director of Don't Breathe, and I thought, that's. I mean, aliens don't breathe, but in space, I guess. All right, let's give this a go. And didn't see anything apart from the actual poster. No trailers, nothing like that. I love the poster.
Yeah.
So I sat down, and then they had the opening scene, and I'm like, okay, this feels pretty alien. And then I saw the chunky keyboards, and I saw the mechanical.
Oh yeah,
I was sold. The mechanical levers, the sounds,
10
everything
out of 10.
about it. I'm like, yep, great, done. I don't even need to watch the rest of the film. Yep, brilliant.
It's already better.
Do you think Ridley Scott has a plan to fix the technology issue he created by having all this, like the technology in Covenant and in Prometheus is obviously way better than what we have in any of the other Alien movies, except for maybe Resurrection, which is super far in the future.
Does he have a plan? No, just stop it there. No,
Why
he doesn't have a plan.
Ridley Scott.
Conan, do you think Ridley Scott can unite these two universes?
Well, I think he'll probably die before he gets a chance because he's like in his late 80s and he's got seven things in pre-production that he's director of. The guy is a freaking machine. He just really do what you want. I don't think we should be able to talk to him about what he should have done. I don't know if he could fix. Like, there is enough of a question in here with that technology, but enough of an answer as well, where it's like, because this movie is super like dirty, it's super grimy. It is straight back to like that filthy cassette punk of like there's nothing polished or clean, and so they're super different.
Yep.
But there's also sort of enough to make you think, okay, maybe it's like the Prometheus ship and the Covenant ship are like the creme de la creme, you know? And like the Prometheus ship has Weyland-Yutani. He's not going to dick around on there.
It's true.
Yeah.
So he's going to travel in style. So maybe the rest of the ships are actually like this, right? Maybe there is like a huge technology. Maybe there is a technology disparity, and everyone down in the mines has Nokias, whilst the people up the top have their iPhones. Like, I can see that sort of happening, right? We have that class divide now to an
like
extent.
Comparing a truck to a Tesla.
Yeah, like
they're pretty different.
That's exactly right. So with that, I'm honestly like, you can kind of fill in the gaps there. I'm not too fussed on being like, but why does the technology not align? Because also
where are the whiskey cubes? You know, where do you have to breathe on a door to open it?
That's right.
Where's all that tech?
Because like the lore in this movies is kind of nonsense.
Yeah,
and I'm at peace with just being like, it's answered somehow. It's probably answered in a graphic novel somewhere that I'll never read.
You're probably right. Conan, are you disappointed we don't get more of Ridley Scott's vision, or did you enjoy this movie?
I think I might be the outlier here. Yeah, I am. I was expecting to come in and be like, Alien Romulus is the greatest horror movie of the 21st century, and I was a little bit disappointed. I came away really thinking, I wish Ridley Scott got the chance to finish the third, because there is nothing more frustrating than a creator being like, here's one there, I'm doing it, and then just be like, but you don't get to finish it. Like, that's the worst. Think of all the TV shows that never got to finish properly. Think of all the movies that have bad third acts because, I don't know, producers have to interfere with it or something. Like,
think of all the TV shows that went on for too long, though, and also spoiled what they did.
Look, we're not going to get Ridley Scott's 9 movies, so that's fine. I think a trilogy is pretty easy to do. Like, I think the dilemma with it, to me, was this. Prometheus and Covenant, for all their flaws, and holy shit do they have flaws, they have ideas. And like, this is clearly there's clearly someone trying to say something here. There is an idea, there is a theory, there is something to say, regardless of if it's coherent, regardless of if Ridley Scott was even cogent for it all. Maybe he was a little, I don't know. But it is clearly a guy grappling with these ideas of creation, like these big existential concepts. And that's why he's making these movies, because he's trying to figure out an answer through the process. Romulus doesn't have anything to say. It's a love letter at the best. All it has, like, and that's not. I don't think that's something like that's not. I'm not saying that all movies have to be grand philosophical wonderments, but I do think, especially with like a piece of franchise entertainment like this, if you're going to come in and make it, either you need to make a different genre piece, like you need to do what James Cameron did, or what David Fincher did, or what Jean-Pierre, what's his face, did with Alien Resurrection. With let's make a different genre movie that we kind of want with this skin.
I never did.
No. You need to fiddle around with it, because all Romulus does is like, let's try to sort of remake Alien.
Yeah,
and like, what's that?
Look, I
Looks
just
like,
want
good.
to say, no, this is the thing, right? Griner said something that I believe you read online, Griner, afterwards.
Yeah, I won't take credit for it.
Comparison for this movie, and it nailed it. This is like The Force Awakens for Alien, where
I've heard this comparison.
It's redoing again, but you know what? Force Awakens is my favorite
Star Wars
movie.
That's not
and
fair.
Alien Romulus is my favorite Alien movie. This is the best Alien movie. No, because then, you know what? Not just for me, and just like not, obviously not for you hardcore guys that like Resurrection for some reason, but like this is now possibly it can be the first Alien film for a lot of people, like a lot of younger generation. Alien doesn't have the cornerstone of like a Star Wars or something like this, where like obviously it's not. No, as in like in the modern media, mainstream media of fans, diehard fans, people aren't at Comic-Con like, oh, they're freaking out over Robert Downey Jr. as Doctor Doom.
You know, watch Community?
I'm talking about the young people. You know what I mean? Like all the TikTokers and stuff like that. They ain't talking about.
Oh, they don't need anything. They need to be black good. That's what they need.
But this is obviously doing very well at the box office, and there's a reason for it. I think this has done what Covenant didn't do a few years ago, and people were going to it and like, oh wow, this is really cool, and seeing such, I think, a great homage to the first two Alien movies. There's so many scenes in this where I'm like, oh, this feels like it's from Aliens, or this feels like it's from Alien, and it works really well. Like Kaylee Speeney, I'm not sure if that's how you pronounce her name, is fucking awesome in this. All I could think throughout, I'm like, man, I wish she was Ellie in the Last of Us show, because she is like badass in this role. The cast is really good. The android's really good. The action's really good. There was a part of me sitting there throughout. I was like, this is awesome. Like, I'm having a blast. Right after like the zero gravity scene of like all the acid floating through the air, I'm like, okay, I am so for all this. This is so cool. And then the final monster, I'm sorry, I think is awesome. Like, I was in awe of that whole last 10-minute scene. It got the best jump scare of the night. And my wife, who went the next day, said when it popped back up out of like in space, it scared the shit out of her and everyone else in the cinema. That whole 10 minutes, like, man, I was on the edge of my seat and I was like, this is great. This is what I want in like an Alien film. So I loved it. And I walked out and I talked to Griner for an hour afterwards. I was just like, man, I really liked that movie. It was awesome.
I had a really good time too. And you're right, like that final act, the tension was like crazy in the cinema. Like everyone was like, what the hell is that? And to me, it harkened back to what they tried to do in Resurrection, but they did it. They did it a lot better, I must admit.
Very much
so much better. I think Alvarez adds some nice things that we haven't seen before, other than that version of the Alien. Like we get to see that cocoon stage, which is extremely vaginal and fun and like fits with the stages, I think, really well. Like that's an addition that we haven't seen before. I agree with you, Conan. Like it doesn't have a lot to say. It doesn't have some grand vision, and I feel like we're having the conversation we had last fortnight about Wolverine and Deadpool and Wolverine. Like
I'm a one-note podcaster. Okay?
No, but it's the same. I think it's the same problem with both, right? Like they're both just almost trying to reboot their franchises in some ways, and in doing so, they're harkening back to the classics, bringing us back things we love. They know we love.
Yeah.
Does it have anything really new to say about Alien, or like any idea? What idea is this trying to push on us? I don't know.
Yeah.
Not like Aliens scary.
Like, Keenan, are you more on Luke's side or are you more on my side here?
I did really enjoy it.
Yeah.
Me too.
Very clearly say I did enjoy it. I probably have to disagree that it doesn't have vision. I think it has a vision, but that vision is taking the bits that that work in other movies and mashing them into just a fun romp. You know, there's concepts that you draw from Alien 4 or Alien Resurrection. There's concepts that you draw from Aliens and so on and so forth. I really like that. There are, I will say, quite a few egregious callbacks that I'm just like, oh my god! I was like, that scene with the elevator, get back from her, bitch. That was the worst.
Really bad.
If you could just snip that out, I think that and maybe a couple of other little things, I'm like, great, done. All the rest of the callbacks are, they're not so front and center that they really mess with me as much as that one did.
Yeah.
And I think they do quite a bit with playing around with the aliens, like the raising the room to the body temperature. I thought that was really clever. The acid, like you said, Luke, but that was a clever, like they were doing stuff with the aliens. It didn't feel like just a pure rehash.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. But
I was just going to say, I think where I differ from you, Conan, is that I know it doesn't have much to say, but I'm still okay. I'm super okay with that. Like, I still had a good time. I still enjoyed it. If they do this again, that's a huge problem, right? Like the franchise is then stagnated and they're not going to go anywhere. Nothing's going to happen. But I think they get this one, right? Like,
so if he makes Alien Ramus, and he's like, meanwhile on the other side of the station, here's what's going on, and it's
Aliens Ramus, right? Like,
and it's just straight up Colonial Marines going up. Just down for that. It's like it's straight up Alien to Aliens. Bloody
that
throwback.
would be pretty funny.
I got the Aliens throwback here though, right? Like the gun sounds super similar. I appreciate that they gave some reasoning behind her being able to shoot really well, like having the auto aim on the gun. Cool, makes sense. She can be a badass without being trained in weapons.
Yeah. They literally recreate that scene where he's like, "This is a pulse rifle.
Yes.
It fires these rounds." It's like this is the exact same scene rehash. And like that part is fine because it's kind of like a little nod. But then there's. Let's talk about Ian Holm.
I was going to say, Rook. Let's talk about Ian Holm.
What the hell is he doing in this movie?
When I walked out of it, and Grono will attest to this, it's the one thing I said I didn't like in the film, and I kept shaking my head every time he was talking because I was just like, this is such a shame to like Ian Holm's memory to have this AI voice, CGI face doing this performance. When he first came on the screen and you could tell it was his body, and you're like, if you know Alien, you're like, okay, cool. I was like, that's cool because obviously we know who that is or what that is. And then they sit him up on the bench and his face is kind of in shadow. I was like, bravo, respectful way to do it. I was like, I like that. And then it's just boom, like a full monologue of him with the CGI face. And
lights
straight
all
away,
the way on. And
lights all the way on. And I was just like, I don't like this. I don't like this at all. But I will admit, as much as I disliked it all the way through, by the end of it, I was like, damn, Ian Holm's a good actor. I was like, Rook was a great antagonist there near the end. I was like, I loved hearing some of his lines again. And I really liked that whole thing that, Big Chap or whatever from the first one had one last killing rampage in him. They brought him in from space. He wiped out that ship and like had one last massacre on his hands. It was a cool throwback to the first Alien. But it's kind of it's iffy territory where you have this CGI face that feels off-putting.
It's just so strange in comparison to the rest of the movie that is really tactile and really physical. Like Fede Alvarez talked about this, like they made the xenomorphs. They're physical models. And they were like, it was kind of, we have to be careful when we're filming because it's like, this is a machine that could go wrong and potentially like hurt someone.
And they look amazing. They look so good because it's practical.
Best looking ones ever. I agree with that. Like, but then to have Ian Holm, like this really bad looking CG AI face on there, it's like, this is the strangest choice. I don't understand. And like, to Fede Alvarez,
you know what would be dope? Have Martin Freeman. Like, Brooke. Be like, there we go. It's young Ian Holm.
This one's for the Hobbit thing.
Would you guys have been okay if his face had been mostly destroyed, and so it was just cued by the voice was the main reason you knew it was him? Because he's an android, he can live without a face.
Yeah, like Keenan.
I'd go a step further and say I don't want him at all. Like, I don't like the double androids. I like the each movie kind of has its own, apart from Prometheus, but that's kind of its own thing. But yeah, all of them, the aliens that we know and love, they all have their own android, and I like that. I like the fact, especially since everyone, unless the android presents themselves as an android to the crew, no one knows. you know?
Yeah.
And it kind of, I don't know, to me, I understand that it's a big world and all that sort of stuff. The chance of running into multiple of an android would be low within this world that they've created. But still, to me, it's kind of like, I don't know, there's a chance that you could run into it, and I don't know, it just doesn't work for me.
No, you're right. It really undoes that whole theory that
Should have been
they're among us, right? Yeah.
I would have really liked, I don't know how they would have done it, but I thought when I was staring at this guy's face and going, I can't just get through the scene. I just got to get through this scene. I would have really liked to have Mother as the antagonist. No voice, just text on the screen with that sound. And then you could just power down and just have this great visual, kind of like in Alien, where it pops up saying, you know, directive change and all that sort of stuff like that. That's very creepy, and it sets up a lot of tension.
The space station being the adversary.
Yeah.
That would have been interesting, because a part that I was weird, kind of not confused, a little bit of a complaint, but it's more of an issue the more I think about it. Is like, this movie's called Alien Romulus. Now, Prometheus and Covenant, the symbolism is very on the nose, right? Prometheus, the god Titan who brought fire, and fire burns, and the gods punished him. Covenant, there's this holy agreement between David and his creators, or the creators of humanity, yada. In this one, it's like the Romulus myth has no bearing on this plot, so I'm really not sure why it's called this. And this could just be.
Can you remind those of us what that is? Who I know, but just for everyone else who doesn't.
So Romulus and Remus were, in myth, the twin brothers who were nursed and raised by wolves.
That's right. Yep.
Yeah, as you know, Romulus kills Remus for some reason, and then he goes on to found Rome. So it's this myth of how Rome was founded, which is part of the myth building of the Roman Empire, and why it's the greatest civilization ever touched the face of the earth, because it was made by these, you know, these ultimate apex humans that were raised by animals. So there's something there again, like, and yeah, it's the name of the ship. It's like there's two halves, Romulus and Remus. So, okay, why not call it Space Station Alpha Beta? That works.
Prometheus and Covenant are Remus, and Romulus is going to kill them and then build Rome and a new empire for the alien universe.
With Fede Alvarez. Okay.
Yes, exactly.
I haven't really thought it through, but I had the exact same thought. I was like, where does this come from? And I think I have an idea. I don't know. But the whole point of that station was for them to do all those experiments with the goo to create the next leap in human evolution. So I'm thinking that, being that the story of Romulus is the founding of Rome, a better people and a greater city, I feel like the symbolism there is that they were trying to found the next great empire, which is evolved humans.
It has so little effect on what we watch, right? Like,
yeah. That is a good theory, though. So my thoughts exactly came. Yes.
Yeah. What needs to be.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah.
Conan, did you like the final Alien?
So there's a lot of things I liked about this movie. Like, it has all the mechanics of a great film. Like, Fede Alvarez is a good filmmaker. He knows how to do, like, Don't Breathe is really good. Evil Dead I haven't seen, but is like got a real cult following. But like, it's all, you rate it, Ken?
Yeah, I love that film.
It's
pretty good.
So like, he knows what he's doing in that sense. And like, the beginning sort of 25 minutes on the colony is really good, because like, God, what a hellscape. That's going to be us in 40 years, fellas, in this world that we're slowly poisoning.
Yeah.
So that was really good. I'm like, yeah, I'm invested. I get why the characters are here. I want Kaylee Spaney to get out of here and have a good life. And the last 20 minutes is the bomb. I was like, but this is what frustrated me, because I'm like, shit, yeah. This is dealing with this idea of birth and how horrible that is in a world that whoever gets birthed in is just going to have to be stuck in this cycle of mind colony bullshit. And it's just like, the creature is terrifying. The creature is amazing.
Yeah.
And I was like, this is what I'm here for, Fede. You're here for bizarro horror. You're here for weird body shit. And so the last 20 minutes is really good and really like truly disturbing and like horrifying with that creature.
Mm.
I need more of that. I need that I need this movie kind of feels like it was tinkered a bit. Like Fede Alvarez is like in Evil Dead. Like there's a whole scene where there's just a rain of blood, and he's into gore. And he knows how to do these interesting visual things. And there's that scene where the guy gets burned by the acid, and I was like, oh, we're going to see a dude melt. We're going to see him liquefy, and you don't. You see his finger melt, and then he just dies. I was like, what happened? What's that? What's going on? You see someone's face get punched with the alien mouth, and it cuts away. You never see any of the gore.
Yeah,
or
it
any of
does.
the horror.
You're right. Yep.
There is nothing really like this movie's MA here. Like it'll be R in America, but this still feels like Disney is like tone it down. You need to do a safe R. You need to add in a throwback to someone, maybe an Ian Holm who we might like, and we want the fans to know that we see them. So put in these references, put in the lines that everyone loves from Aliens. I listened to an interview with Fede Alvarez, and he seemed to say a lot of this was his idea, and a lot of it was like their take on it all. But I wonder if I really feel like this movie is constrained by being like, we want an Alien movie, and it's like a really mild case of the Spider-Man 3 thing where he's making a movie that he's a really good filmmaker, and he still makes a movie that he wants, but it's like he had to make a movie in tick boxes. He had
Compromised.
Yeah, it's copyright. He had to make a movie that was faithful to these things. And like you say, Luke, that will make this the movie for the new generation. That another Gen Z can grow up, or Gen Alpha or whatever it is, can be like, oh, Alien's a cool franchise. What's up with that? Rather than having to go back and watch something from the 70s. Which is fine. I respect that. I'm glad it can happen. But the reason why this franchise worked was because it was filmmakers taking chances in a pretty redundant mythology, being like, Alien. What's up with aliens, right? And so one guy makes a horror slasher, one guy makes a Vietnam War movie, one guy makes a pseudo-religious psychological thriller, one guy makes a weird space romp. Some work, some don't.
Opera, yeah.
Some work, some don't. But it's like you're doing something. Whereas Alien is never meant to just be a horror franchise. And so when you have just a horror movie that is basically a rehash of Alien, I'm like, we do not need this. Do something different. Do an ultra gory version. Do a different version of horror. Do something really quiet and not violent.
Isn't Alien a movie that people like ran out though? They were like vomiting in the aisles and couldn't stomach. Isn't that movie? Like the chestburster scene was just too much for people back in the.
Yeah, and I'm saying lean into that.
No, that's what I'm saying. Like,
yeah.
why we've dialed it back. We've lost something. Yes.
Yeah. We used to make things in this country.
All right, I want to put something out there that was on my mind during the movie. Call me sick, but the girl who birthed the alien, Kay, she reaches into her shirt and she gets out slime. I thought the alien was going to breastfeed.
Yes,
they didn't give us any of that, and they didn't even show her getting killed. Like they totally cut away from it. It almost felt like they're like shying away from what they could have gone with.
Dude, that scene, because then you see the alien like gnawing at her neck or something, and I was like, "Oh, you've done it! You've got her breastfeeding. This is cinema. This is 11 out of 10. It would have been so weird.
It would have been,
but they didn't do it. They shy away, and I don't know. It's really disappointing.
But I still can't say I was disappointed. I still had a really good time. I still really enjoyed it. You're right. Like I think. Hopefully onward and upward from here and we get some new ideas and we get something to say, but I think I'm okay with this happening and I really enjoyed my time with this movie.
Yeah.
All three. Yeah.
Can I talk about goo for 2 seconds?
Yeah, make it, yes.
All right. I hate the goo. Through all of these films, I hate the goo. Especially in this film, it's ramping up to be sort of like the Force in the Disney era Star Wars, where it's kind of like, well, what does it do? Whatever we need it to do.
Oh, the black goo. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and
absolutely.
I don't like that. I don't like the moment they introduced it. I was like, oh, come on. I will give it a little bit of leeway because that freakish, disgusting engineer dude, alien xenomorph dude. But I can see it now. If this keeps going with its franchise for another 3 or 4 movies, I could see just magical, boop, yep, okay, done. you know, and it could just do whatever it needs to do for the story, and it's a Deus Ex Machina in future, and I don't like that.
Yeah, no, that's always been my opinion of the Black Goo. Like it just allows them to do whatever the hell they want.
I don't see it coming to that point though. I feel like
I don't know.
I feel like it's very clear. Like, oh, you know, Wayland keeps pushing this stuff. Don't mess with it. Like, you should not jab yourself with this, or the rat will eventually explode and turn into something gnarly. I don't think.
But they keep messing with it.
That's right. They keep messing with it, and it keeps changing what it does. Like it dissolves engineers. It just does whatever the hell they need it to.
Yeah, it's part of the issue. You can just be like 50 years in the future, they've figured out a way to make it do X, Y, or Z, and then it's like 50 years again, they've undone that, and now it's like the elixir of youth. And I agree. I think the goo is a bad choice overall. Like,
so this is a question I want to ask, right? And I want to get into, because you know, you keep talking about they're dumbing it down and shying away and trying to Disneyfy this and all this sort of stuff.
Yeah, so, the Queen is a Disney princess, bro.
So something I'm curious about, right? Because something I came out of this is I was like, cool, I'm keen for this moving forward. You know, I want more movies in this unit, like in this universe. But I would be interested in seeing these character continue on to be like the lead in the next one or whatever. And something I keep coming back to of what would be cool is kind of ruined, because we got Alien 3 and 4 in this universe. And so therefore you can't really do anything cool with Sigourney Weaver. You can't do anything really cool with Ellen Ripley making a triumphant return in this series and it being like a cool, interesting thing, because
we don't
they destroyed
want that.
it. They destroyed that character in 3 and 4. What I'm pitching is what they need to do is do what they did with Star Wars when Disney bought that, and say those two were non-canon.
No,
that's what I want.
Absolutely,
because
not.
3 and 4, like especially 4, that movie was trash, and you can't say that they're shying away from what makes Alien great in this one when 4 exists. And I know I said it earlier, and I'm not just trying to shit on 4, but do you remember that movie? Like, that has already shied away from what made Alien Alien.
Alien 4 is far from a perfect movie, and the Ripley in Alien 4 is a clone. Like, it's nothing to do with the original Ripley. So you can't say from a plot point of view it matters, because it's so far in the future compared to any of the other movies as well.
Yeah, but Alien 3 is bad too.
Alien 3 is not bad. It is good. You're full of shit. Assembly cut or not, good, solid movie. Not great, definitely not. But
do you want them to clone Ripley again? Would you be okay with that?
Like, yeah, is that really what you think they should?
I don't want them to clone Ripley. No, I want Ripley to come back from Aliens, and not that, like, you know, and then be unfrozen. Not what they did in number 3, where she's ends up on this planet and then she jumps into lava to sacrifice herself and all this sort of crap, and then
this is exactly the problem with every bit of franchise entertainment. This is what's killing every franchise. They're like, it started with someone, and so we can never let them go. It's what we talked about last one with Robert Downey Jr. coming back. They're just like, we need him forever. It's like, no, you don't need Sigourney Weaver. If anything, Romulus proves that. They actually go out and they're like, here's a cast of unknowns. The only one who's relatively known is Kaylee Spaney. And she's like not a household name, but she's been in some big things and she will have a really good career. But they're like, no, we don't need to be like, bring Sigourney back as a grey-haired. Like,
I'm not saying Sigourney needs to come back, but I just started thinking about the thoughts for the future, and then I was like, that's right. They can't do too much in the future because they've already jumped the shark a few years ago.
No, but I think if anything, the Alien universe is like really, everybody's really isolated, right? Like there's huge distances apart that they live. Communication takes a long time between these planets. What's happening to Ripley on one side of the universe has no effect to what is happening to whoever our protagonists happen to be on the other side of the universe. Like those two things don't need to affect each other. Just give us the corporations. The corporations know everything and they're bad. Keep pushing that narrative.
Yeah.
So true. That's exactly right.
All right, let me put this to you guys. You're stuck on a derelict spaceship. There's an alien on board, and you have to choose. You have to choose your Ripley surrogate. Rain, what's her name? Daniels or Shaw? Who's with you to help you survive?
Oh,
Right.
We're ranking the
Kind of ranking them. You just pick which one you want with you.
yeah.
Rain.
It's Rain 100%. I think
It's Rain.
yeah. I forgot to say this.
I
Daniels is
really like Daniels personally.
Daniels is awful.
No, I like Daniels.
She's so bad.
No.
No, she's the worst character. All she does is look sad and be like, "God,
She
I miss
always looks-
James Franco."
Because she misses James Franco. Who doesn't miss James Franco?
Like, sure, we all
Uncancel
miss
that
time.
man. Actually, I don't know. I don't know if what he did is bad. I don't want to
No, look,
uncancel
we
him
missed
necessarily.
we all missed the time when James Franco didn't need to be cancelled, and we could just have funny movies with him.
Hmm.
But we don't need that in our movies. We don't need people being like telling us we miss him. Just do it on your prime time.
She was the only one that could handle herself with a weapon. Like take
Who
away
needs-
the auto aim from Romulus.
You're a play on the extra hard mode is the only way to play a game kind of guy, huh?
I'm just saying you might not have that available to you on this spacecraft.
That you played Elden Ring.
Look, I like Rain too, and she probably is the most badass of the three. But
What's interesting is, and I'm sorry to change the subject in a way, but like I did keep 100% thinking she would make a great Ellie in Last of Us. What I didn't realize is the pregnant character in this is playing Dina in season 2. And I was like, oh,
Is that Dina?
that's Dina. So I was like, oh,
Yeah.
that's a cool coincidence.
Well, there you go. She's good at getting pregnant, I guess. Spoiler for The Last of Us season 2.
all right. Any final thoughts on Alien Romulus?
I had a ball. I can't.
We
wait to see
know.
it.
We know.
Yeah. Bennett, I feel like I've heard enough from you about this.
I don't know if there's much more that I can say. I mean, it was a fun movie. There were some issues with it, but all in all, I enjoyed it. Like, there's not too much else that I can say. It rehashes stuff that I like in the franchise. It does a few interesting new things. There's not too much. I will say I really enjoyed the sound on this film. Like, I really liked Prometheus for the orchestral score and stuff like that.
Yep.
I've got that entire soundtrack in my rotation. It's so good. But everything in Romulus was so great. The diegetic noises that evolved into the tension building drums and stuff like that. It all worked so well. And it wasn't afraid to just let the scene be quiet and just have, the beeps and boops and the lights flickering and that sort of thing.
Yeah, it sounds at the space station.
The Prometheus theme came back when Ian Holm mentions Prometheus, which was kind of cool. And it finally connected it to Prometheus.
Which we didn't really need, but
No, absolutely not.
Yes, we did. We needed someone to say the Prometheus project.
Yes, exactly.
Yes, the movie wouldn't be complete.
The one thing
that would have been the problem, yeah.
That, in the first 10, 20 minutes straight away, and Keen mentioned it earlier, I was just like, man, it feels great to be back in this like practical environment and very old school. Felt like Alien 1, the cassette punk thing that Griner talked about with Aliens on the original podcast. Like I think it elevated the movie so much in the first 20 minutes where straight away I was like, okay, no, we're in good hands. I was like, obviously this is people who are fans of the original 2 movies.
Yeah.
And it felt great. It felt so much better than like big CGI sets or anything like that. It felt real. It felt grounded. And seeing that dystopian, there was always this rumor that Blade Runner was set on Earth while Alien was happening out in space, because this is what people were dealing with on Earth. This sort of, grungy city. And really the opening of this reminds me kind of a Blade Runner a bit. And it's an interesting look to see the miners and everything like that.
Yeah.
One thing we haven't talked about, I just want everyone's opinion on before we move on from it. Did anyone like the android, Andy?
Yeah, I thought he was great. I thought he was really good, and like switching between the 2 modes, and even even at the start where you're like, oh, she's got a like, he's disabled or something, like he's got some mental issue. Then you find out he's an android. Like, really good reveal when he resets himself and his eyeballs are all whack in his head, and you can see the Weyland-Yutani logo on his eyes. It's really cool.
Yeah,
and it was
for a second.
Super badass scene where the face hugger drops down and he grabs it.
Yeah.
Brilliant. Sold. Love it.
Yeah, he's a nice addition to it. Like their dynamics, another good way of looking at it. You know, androids aren't all evil, so this one's actually can be really good, really nice, really sweet. I just wanted to one thing I wanted to ask quickly, like especially for Luke and Keenan, because you guys seem to enjoy this probably more than Griner and I. Is this what you want from future Alien movies? Do you just kind of want like, oh yeah, another cool horror movie about people battling an alien? Like if you get one of these every couple of years, are you going to be like, yes, it's another Alien movie? Do you want it to be like Friday the 13th, where it's like part 7, he's back for more?
Don't try and like diminish it to be this thing of
I'll
like,
do
oh,
what I
like,
have to
what,
do.
yay, the new Alien,
What I'm saying
is out.
What I'm saying
like,
is, are
not
you
like
dumb
that.
or are you smart? Like,
No.
But look, you've literally been sitting here saying that the Alien 3 and Alien 4 are that. Like you've literally been
They
going on
are.
that rant. So here we go.
No,
Are you happy with that or not?
yeah, do you want?
Answer the damn question.
I'd be down for that. I would be down for it. Like, that's not what I want from this. Like I said, I loved Prometheus. I really enjoyed Prometheus. I wanted to see that trilogy continue. I would be down for in 2 movies from now. Fuck, we're on David's colony. He's got a whole planet of these things because they finally arrived. I'm interested in that existential stuff that asked as well. But I had a blast watching this. Like, there's no shame in having fun. I would like them to do more. You know, we had Force Awakens, and that was one of my favorite Star Wars films. Then Last Jedi came out. They took a wrong course somewhere. So hopefully, the Last Jedi for the Alien universe is something different. You know, I don't want it to be the Last Jedi again. So as long as they don't go to any casino planets with horses running around, we should be fine.
Oh, aliens on a casino planet, yeah. Kanan, is this what you want, or
Maybe not what I want. If you'd asked, what's your ideal next alien? I don't think I would have Romulus. But having said that, I enjoyed it a lot. I think it by itself is good. I don't want to see essentially this film. I would like to see it in the hands of different directors, and it would be very interesting because the thing, all the mainline, the Alien 1, 2, and 3, Resurrection, etc., they're all basically similar stories. Like there's not the differences in the director and how they approach the story. So I think it would be good to see more of that, especially if they could give like indie directors a chance. I think indie horror directors would be good to cut their teeth on an Alien franchise. But having said that, if in 2 years I get something similar to Romulus, I'm going to watch it. I'll probably have a blast with it. At worst, it's forgettable, you know?
yeah.
If you're a fan of Alien, you should want something like that, right? Instead of this series fading off into obscurity, which, you know, before Prometheus, it had been a while, you were getting Alien versus Predator. And now we have stuff like Prey and Alien
Underrated.
Romulus, you know? Like,
But
it's good for it to be back and to be entertaining movies.
But Prey's a good example of like taking the formula and kind of flipping it on its head and actually doing something really different to what had come before it. And this is not that, right?
Yeah. Prey, because the Prey comparison has happened. Fede Alvarez said at one point, he's like, I'd be keen to do an Alien vs Predator movie with me and Dan with me and Dan Trachtenberg like co-directing or something. I'm like, okay, maybe this is what we get. But yeah, like exactly, Prey is kind of the perfect evolution of it, of like this simple idea in different settings and exploring the context around that and saying something about the you know, in Prey, the gender dynamics and the tribal situation. Like it has a story in there.
Colonization of America,
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I loved it.
Yeah,
I thoroughly enjoyed it, and I thought if they were going to do any more Predator films, that's what they should do. Only because we're now that are jungle than city, and it's like, all right, give us something fresh, guys. I don't think you could really do that with Alien, but I would like, similar to Prey, a smaller, self-contained small self-contained stories that don't have these grand sweeping, not necessarily themes, but implications for the wider universe. I just want a dude running away from an alien. I want him to get face hugged. I want a chest burst,
Yeah.
They tick those boxes, I'm fine, and if they can do that well in a small self-contained story, I'm going to be super happy. But if they can't do that, give me whatever Romulus had.
Well, next year we have the Alien TV series,
Alien
Earth, starring Timothy Oliphant. Hell yeah!
As the alien.
Oh god, I can't wait! I can't wait.
Yeah,
I'm excited for it.
A Disney Plus show is not what I want out of this franchise.
It's FX.
Oh, is it?
Yeah,
it's still
no.
Disney.
Me neither. I don't like. This is not kind of what I want, but it's by Noah Hawley, who made Fargo, and so like he's good at TV. Like he gets it. So I am super curious about this, but I'm also like, I don't think we.
It's
the
set
lore is not
for Prometheus.
Yeah, I heard something somewhere like maybe there was talks that this is literally set on Earth and it's about like the Weyland-Yutani politics. And I'm kind of like, I really don't know if I give a shit about that. Do I need to be like, we're going to make an android and some government's like, no, don't do that. No, give me an alien. Fucking shit up. But
Trade commissions.
We'll see. Just trade missiles.
Whole series without an alien, that'd be interesting.
All right, let's rank them. Let's finish this off.
Number 7, Alien Resurrection.
Let's just do these three, for now. Keenan, do you want to go first? Hit us with your ranking.
Only because I've had more time with it. Prometheus is the best, and then Romulus, and then Covenant. I'm sorry, I can't get behind much of what's in Covenant, so down to the bottom it goes. Below Aliens.
Yes,
wow.
Aliens is better than something in Kenan's eyes.
Literally only every movie's below Aliens except one. So
yeah, pretty much.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Conan, go ahead.
I think I would go. I'd go the same. I think from worst to best. Covenant's the worst. Romulus, Prometheus. I think, but I'm also like, I can't say that. Prometheus is terribly written, so I don't know. Prometheus is one that made me like you said, Greta. I've been thinking about it still, and it's a movie that even though I'm like, what a mess that is, I'm like, man, it's staying with me, and I feel kind of like good about that. So yeah, Covenant, Romulus, Prometheus.
Okay.
Best to worst, Romulus, Prometheus, Covenant.
I think I'll go the same. Only it's recency. It's 100% recency.
My boy.
Finally,
we agree on.
Like I think in 10 years' time, we're like, I'm going to watch Prometheus again. I might watch Romulus, but for now, high off Romulus, I'll go Romulus first. Prometheus, Covenant.
Yeah.
All right, Conan. Oh, go ahead. Yeah. Sorry. Before we move on.
No, it's fine. Move on.
Do you want to talk about The Crow? We're going to do The Crow next fortnight.
All right.
What are we gonna watch?
Look, I think for the core text is you have to do. We're going to do the original Crow, and we'll do the remake of The Crow. So the Brandon Lee classic and the remake coming out with the Skarsgård brother, Bill Williams, his name, I believe. Now I'm going to implore you to watch Crow City of Angels, Crow Resurrection, and Crow Wicked Prayer. Just so we can look at what a shit show this franchise has been. But
I ain't watching another Resurrection movie again unless it's like Resurrection of Frieza or something.
But sorry, but if you guys don't watch those, I won't be bummed out. I might not even get a chance to, but I don't know.
Okay. All right. Very good. All right. Well, thanks so much for joining us, Keenan. I really hope there's another 3 Alien movies so you can join us again.
Or something else. If
we should get you on for something else you're keen on too.
Always welcome.
Appreciate you joining us for the podcast. As always, this podcast is brought to you by two books written by Conan, The Taste of Iron and A God Grotesque. Check them out on Amazon.
Lots of sex in there.
and
And
human
gore.
aliens.
And gore. Conan does not shy away from the gore. He is happy to reveal it all.
Until Disney pays him out.
That's true. Would you take the Disney money?
Oh, yes.
Would.
Of course I
Would.
would.
If you're
Oh,
like,
boy.
the God
you
Grotesque
compromise on
Disney
your
Plus
vision?
series.
I would literally edit all these out and be like, I love corporate meddling. I love Disney. Disney's
that we know
the
more
best.
Robert Downey
power
Jr. is going to
powder.
play the lead.
We know
What they did with Romulus, perfect.
Perfect. Do it 6 more times,
Keep-
please.
In fact, if Disney wants to sponsor this podcast, we're all ears. No, thanks for joining us. We'll maintain our editorial integrity, we promise. Thanks for joining us. Rate us on Spotify. Check us out on Facebook. Tell your mum about us, and catch us next time.
Peace.
See ya.